Hey everybody, I'm Sean Patrick and I'm here with Denise James, author and therapist, author of the brand new book, Inner Life Rights, a manifesto for reconnecting to love, renewing your mind and radiating your light. Hi Denise.
Hi Sean.
How are you?
Hi everybody.
How are you doing this wonderful day?
Oh, the sun's really shining hard today. It's quite lovely. Yeah, still feel
We,
like the very
we don't get
beginning.
that in England all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
it is the beginning of the journey of this book, but it is your second book. We've spoken before about your first book, Back to Love, of which you have, as much as this book is something very new, you see it as a part two to
Yeah.
that book. So
Yeah.
so just tell us about this new book.
Okay. So it's called Inner Life Rights, a manifesto for reconnecting to love, renewing your mind, and radiating your light. And yeah, as it says Inner Life Right, I really want you to write from, our inner world of experience, our inner world of thoughts and feelings. Because I think that's a perspective that's missing in the world today. There's so much noise, and to really understand and connect with ourselves and um, kind of live our most authentic lives, you really have to get quiet and connect up from the inside out rather than being influenced from the outside in. So I was writing over the years in my journal, and I decided, like they're like thoughts and reflections, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm gonna make this into a book, and for this reason especially. And when the pandemic happened and
Mm-hmm.
George Floyd and everything, I had even more things to say
Yeah.
about that and about the urgency of us really getting to know the man in the mirror, so we can make that
Mm-hmm.
personal change. Because unless we do that, the collective can't come together and be really, impacting and make a difference. And it was just time for this type of book, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I worked on the cover, and there's a very significant bird on the front. Everyone who's
Yeah.
watching, go to Amazon, Inner Life Rights, Denise James, and you'll see what is the significance of that particular bird being on the cover.
Okay, that's the Sankofa bird. From a it's a mythology bird from Ghana, and it's really about. I mean, as a therapist, it's always about looking back, to understand the situations of our lives today and the patterns that we pick up, and that gets in the way of our journey forward. The Sankofa bird it's talking about that same looking back to move forward, but it's more from a collective viewpoint. So my book is also talking about, the Black community and our continued healing. And like I said, coming out of COVID and George Floyd, um, I think Inner Life has something to write and say about that, how we can move together, not just personally and collectively. We have to do the both. We
Mm-hmm.
can't just do one without the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Sankofa Bird teaches us about looking back in history to learn to move
Yeah.
forward. Yeah, so there's a
And that,
personal historical,
yeah.
which my first part of the book talks about, and then there's a collective historical.
Yeah, I was just going to say that leads into the parts of the book. Part one being personal historical, part two is psychosocial. Um,
Mm.
what was the choice to lay the book out in these parts in regards to its overall message?
Yeah, because I think the overall message is, like I said in the beginning, it's about understanding the inner world and the inner life, and then
Mm-hmm.
how do we kind of bring that through into real life, or so-called real life.
Mm-hmm.
And those categories are about, like I said, it's about, I want the message to be about, us as individuals, us as a people, Black people. So the message is for Black people as well, and then us as a race, the human race. So that collective as well. Um, yeah, and the things that can go wrong in those areas, and how we can heal that. because there's healing out there.
Mm-hmm.
But we really have to get clear on, what the problem is.
Well, like jumping into part 3, there's a section called On Turning to Love, which I believe is definitely a nod or a clear part 2 of your first book, Back to Love. Wait, is that what the healing is? Where does this message on coming back to love fit in with the message of this book?
Okay, so in the title it says, renewing your mind, reconnected to love, radiating your life. Why it's like a second series of Back to Love. To tell you the truth, I was speaking to, a colleague and a friend. We've grown to become friends now. And she said, when she read Back to Love, she was looking for something more, because when I wrote Back to Love, it covered the first 40 years of my life. And I became 40 in 2005. And she made a really key point, and I jumped on that, and I thought, okay, people need to know after reading Back to Love where I am today, in 2023. So that's what makes it a series and a part 2, and I'm actually going to be coming up with a part 3, but I won't say too much about that.
People need to enjoy part 2 first, and it's a big book. Like that's
yes,
and so was your first book, but this this is one to enjoy, to study, to sit with. It's a journey. There's a lot in this book, and it's a journey. So don't buy it for light reading. Buy it for transformational.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you're really serious about change, you're wanting to be a part of the solution. It's a book about how to. Not that I'm saying I have the answer. I just found the answers, and I'm sharing that with those who are ready to receive. And plant seeds of a renewal in their life. Yeah.
Were there any stories in this book you were apprehensive about sharing, or was it all since after doing a first book, are you just an open book? Forgive the pun.
Yeah, it's more that one. I remember you saying, Sean, that part of the journey when you write your first book is writing it, and then you go on another journey when it's released into the world. And if you've read that book, you know that I've experienced trauma, and as a child, I lacked confidence. I was quite nervous a lot. I was isolated, all for the reasons laid out in my first book, Back to Love. But once the book was released, it was like, oh my gosh. I was happy to kind of be a sacrificial lamb to get a message and a story and a healing across. But, I got the imposter syndrome turned up big time, and I was worrying about what people are going to think, what they're going to say. But then I remember what you said, and I just embraced the journey from that. And that those concerns, worldly concerns, or what people might say concerns, they diminished over time. And with this book, they were less. The imposter syndrome was less there, and I felt though that I was, being even more brave, because I'm speaking plainly and clearly on some really critical issues. But I think it's that time. The world's in a mess.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
It's time, but at the same time, it's in a mess, but it's not the first time. And it's like our lives. They say before the brightest dawn is the darkest night, so we're just in that time. So we need light.
Yeah,
we need
absolutely.
light. And that book is a light for these
and
times.
How do we generate light in ourselves and on the world?
By being clear. It starts with the man in a mirror, knowing what your luggage is, what your issues are, personally, before you then want to pick up collective issues and have opinions about that. We have to find our own light, and to find our lights, we have to do our own hero or heroine journey, into the dark, into our shadows, into the part we play, that blocks the light, and stops the love from circulating. Yeah, but that takes a lot of courage to go into that darkness. But
Yeah.
we need to. That's where the jewel is.
I've never thought of it that way before. There's so many people out there trying to solve collective issues who haven't even started to solve the individual issues.
Yes,
And that's what we see over and over again. I've never thought of it that way.
yeah, and I don't think it works successfully that way. That's why I think the message predominantly in a life right is about the personal and the collective in those different varieties I spoke about. And COVID came to reinforce that message, I think, as well, because in the beginning it was all about we need to be responsible for each other. That's collective responsibility. That message was so strong. We needed to do that to get through. We really had to cooperate. That's another word, cooperate. And these principles also come from Kwanzaa. There's a spirit of cooperation. There's personal collectivity. I can't reel them all off at the moment because, but it's really got the spirit of Kwanzaa in the message as well.
So you celebrate Kwanzaa, and that's is that between Christmas and New Year? Am I correct?
Yeah, from Boxing Day to the New Year's. Yeah, I do. I just love the principles. It's the principle that the world needs as well. I mentioned them in the book, and know thyself, educate thyself. If you're not sure what it is, we have no excuse to not know stuff anymore.
Do you want to know what I can't keep up with the amount of books that I want to read and I'm reading, and I say that to mean we have a consistent, if you want it, there is a consistent flow of smart, informed knowledge that is so accessible.
Absolutely.
And I'm sometimes astounded by how much insight I find in a book, because it costs what, 15 pounds, or and I'm like, oh my gosh, the insight, the thought, the research, the findings that I'm being given for 10 pounds is amazing.
And it's always there to tap back into.
And there's always another book that you can then learn more from. So I'm huge into reading and audiobooks right now, and I'm consistently wowed by how much knowledge I can consume in a day, and that's a great thing.
Our ability to know is unlimited.
Yes, our ability to know is unlimited. That's that's a Denise James. There's a lot of your poetry in this book, which I think is so wonderful, and it's perfectly complements the. I mean, I think you write very poetically anyway, and I want to come on to some of your word plays. But even though the book is an extremely psychological, socio-political message, you write like a poet. So actually having poetry in there was perfect. Did you write the poetry for this book, or had you already written a lot of poetry?
Yeah, I'd already written a lot of poetry, and I really wanted to. At some point, I wanted to bring them and put them onto paper, and so it just felt like it would fit perfectly there. Because with my poems, I write when I'm going through something and I'm learning. There's a key learning or transformation taking place. There's something in me that wants to put that on paper and to share that, just to help others going through the same thing be able to to articulate it and feel like they're not going mad. This is something really key and important. And once again, it's going inside to create that and bring that out. So it just seems like, the way I write and create, it's very organic. I don't kind of sit there and, brainstorm or anything. I just write because there's something in me, or I read somewhere that, the book's already in there. You just got to clear the way to let it come through. So I write with that. So the poems are really, again, on the personal and collective and the healing theme. So they had to be a part of the book, I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's just if I could compare this book to anything else I know, I think of like a James Baldwin or a Maya Angelou. It's so powerful, yet written so it's not like a work of nonfiction which is giving you the information. It is, but it's delivered. It's just so you're just the way you have with words is so unique and special. And I'm going to say, like, I know you're an author and therapist. I really don't know why you're not author, therapist, and English language professor, because you just
Wow.
you see the meaning of words and the conjunction of words more than anyone I know. I've only got one example here, but I know they're throughout the book all the time. You talk about humankind, human, comma, kind, and they're throughout the book everywhere. Like these, a word that we've just become so used to. You can see the different words within it, or if there was just a space somewhere, it would be a completely different saying. Have you always been able to do that? Is that something yeah.
I don't know, because when you have a gift, sometimes you don't even see it because it's just so much a part of you, and it's just people over the years have said little similar things to you, and it's still news to me. That's the imposter syndrome, and that comes from the past. So it just feels naturally. So but I love words, and I love the origins of words. Even words have a history and have a story, and have a meaning, but we can use it so cheaply. But there's power in the tongue. So no, that just and that's just my that comes from my authentic place. That comes from the inner world of thoughts and experience. But yeah, I just love words.
Do you know what I feel like it is? This has just come to me. It's like you're a spiritual and love translator. So you could get any piece of text and you could decipher it, and you could say, this is what this is actually saying. Yeah. And I just think that is powerful. So if anyone who's gonna read this book, and of course you get an education and get a transformation, you're also gonna be blown away just how by so many words you've been using, that if you actually break down or swap or change that tiniest bit, it's a whole other saying. Like impossible being I'm possible. That one blows my mind.
It's like words have personality.
Absolutely. And I think we use them like they don't. That's once again, you're far more articulate than me. With what was it? Like words have personality. So this book has personality the whole way through. There's nothing about this book which feels like you're just getting information.
Even I myself love this book, actually.
But and it's beautiful and it's gold, like amazing. Inner Life Rights is out now. Everywhere books are sold online. Denise, is there anything else you'd like to offer people who are currently reading it, people who are about to start reading it, people who are thinking about reading it? Any last message?
Honor your journeys. The time is now. That's the message of the book as well. We can't be living for tomorrow. It's about now. So I believe we're called here to leave something really precious and special behind. And just like we all individually have different thumbprints, our contribution are unique and different and essential. So whatever dream you have, go for it. Don't put it off for tomorrow. Life is for living now. Gosh, it's hard to find a message on the spot like that, but read the book. There's lots of them.
And there's loads. Ultimately, it's just a little slice of why you will be transformed from having gone through the journey of this book. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for writing Back to Love, the first book as well. And I'm sure we'll be sat here in about 18 months, 2 years, talking about book 3. Yeah. But for now, Inner Life Rights, available everywhere books are sold online. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you as well for being midwifery or providing midwifery to.
My pleasure. And just on that note, I do have to say the cover design was we did it so quickly. And that's, it was an easy birth, we'll say, if we're going to use that metaphor.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Karen Mills, as well. Yeah, and thanks you for everybody who was on this journey. This book journey.
It's been a collective pleasure and an individual.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Bye.